In the second half that Maryland was able to put away a depleted Duke team yesterday, but when they did, it was a freshman, Dan, that came off the bench to spark them. LaRon Profit added 19 points in a sensational ACC tournament debut.
Bob, what a coach works for all season long is to get things, all the pieces fit together, get things clicking, and in LaRon Profit, a young man who didn't really play much earlier in this season, contributed greatly off the bench. And look at those bench numbers. Maryland over Duke. Gary Williams' club obviously deep. They obviously can score coming off the bench. They're a dangerous squad.
Georgia Tech is, of course, the top seed in this tournament, the regular season champions, and they looked like it yesterday in taking care of North Carolina State, and the Big Three had a big day.
Bob, it was, remember, back in 1990, Georgia Tech had lethal weapon 3. Well, these are 3 more guys who are pretty lethal weapons. Those are their numbers from yesterday. This is a very entertaining team to watch. They pass the ball very well. They're as fluid on the offensive end, I think, as just about any team in the country, and they like to get up and down, just as the Maryland Terrapins like to get up and down. We could have some fun today.
Yeah, absolutely. A 94-foot game in the offing. We'll be back after this message from Bud Light.
ACC basketball is brought to you by Nations Bank, by Food Lion, by Pepsi, by Chrysler, by Bell South, and by Bud Light.
We are back at the Greensboro Coliseum getting set for semifinals Saturday. The Maryland Terrapins and the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. For Maryland, ball club that is closing the ACC year with a rush. They've won 3 straight and 5 of their last 7. Gary Williams is the head coach. His record in ACC tournament competition is 4-5. Georgia Tech is also on a roll. The Yellow Jackets have won 8 straight, 21 overall, and ranked 18th in the country. A ball club that hit 9 threes yesterday against NC State. Bobby Cremins is the head coach, and like Gary Williams, gentlemen who have both played and coached in the ACC tournament. When we come back, we'll have the opening tip-off. The Terrapins and the Yellow Jackets from Greensboro right after this. The computer and check the game file for Georgia Tech and Maryland's 2 meetings this year. Game 1 at the Omni in Atlanta. The Yellow Jackets outscored the Terps by 16 points at the free throw line. And Georgia Tech went on to win. Stephon Marbury scored 23 in his ACC debut. A 14-point win for Georgia Tech. Then in the second game at College Park, the Terps broke it open in the second half and won 98-84 as 5 players scored in double figures. Dan Bonner, one of the 5 was this man, Keith Booth, with 15.
Keith Booth, I think, can be a real factor in a game such as this. Georgia Tech, a solid inside game, but not an outstanding inside game. And the reason the inside game is solid, electric Eddie Elisma, who has played great basketball as they've come down the stretch. I think that Elisma and Booth, that'll be an interesting matchup.
In semifinal action of the ACC tournament, this is Maryland's 20th appearance. Georgia Tech has gone on to win 3 ACC championships. They are 4-2 all time in semifinal games. Dick Paparo, Larry Rose, and Mike Wood will officiate. Carl Hess is the alternate. And the ball will belong to Georgia Tech off the tip.
And the reason it belongs to Georgia Tech is Akizi hit the ball on the way up. Can't do that. It's called stealing the tip. Akizi probably wanted to head that ball.
Mike, watch it.
Here's Rhodes slapping it away. I would think that we will see the Maryland press early and often.
And I would think that Georgia Tech, even though they turned the ball over a lot against Gary Williams' squad in the College Park game, I would think that Georgia Tech would be a tough team to maintain pressure because they handle the ball so well.
Inside Booth. And Georgia Tech clears. Here's Marbury.
Who's just a tad out of position, Bob. Wasn't able to get that ball and dunk it home. Simpkins matched up against Marbury.
Inside Maddox. And the rebound to Simpkins.
Both teams going inside early. Marbury turned his ankle a little bit, Bob.
And Hip had it blocked. Stephon hustling back the other way as Barry advances the ball.
Well, guys usually recover on offense.
Yeah, it's defense. Oh, boy, that thing really hurts.
He banked that.
Drew Barry, amazing. He hit a couple of threes was in yesterday's win over NC State.
That was not a shot. He was trying to pass the ball to Johnny Rhodes.
Berry behind the back to Maddox.
Oh, what a pass.
Foul line to Elisma. A rather quick pace.
Buckle up. I think we're going to... I hope you did your neck exercises because you're going to have to turn your head frequently. Man to man. This is Booth against Maddox. Booth is a very effective one-on-one player inside, but he was falling away that time. He needs to power the ball to the bucket.
Harper clearing to Drew Berry. This Yellow Jacket team in the calendar year '96 has gone 15-3. Harper, who's destroyed Maryland throughout his Georgia Tech career, rolls it in.
There are some guys against whom some teams just can't match up, and Matt Harpering is a guy that Georgia Tech just doesn't have anybody who's ever been able to guard him.
This is the 5th time that these two have matched up in ACC tournament competition. Each team has won a pair.
Bob, one of the keys to this game may be Maryland's ability to shoot the ball from the perimeter. Johnny Rhodes in particular has been struggling lately. The shot clock down to 6.
Simpkins with the dish underneath and a double dribble by Akisi.
I mentioned Matt Harpering and his ability to play inside, a little taller than Johnny Rhodes. Rhodes matched up against him just does not have the ability to prevent Harpering from getting that shot once he catches it that close to the basket.
When we talk about that Maryland press, their trait is to try to deny that inbounds pass and maybe trap that first inbounds pass, but then relax it.
One of the problems for Maryland is if you're a pressing team, you have to score to set the press, and Maryland has yet to do that, and Georgia Tech now goes up 8-0.
It was a difficulty that Maryland had yesterday in the game against Duke.
Thus far, everything for Maryland has been an attempt to get the ball inside. Georgia Tech, you may be able to exploit them in there, but I think you got to hit some outside jumpers to open it up.
And now Georgia Tech with an opportunity to take a double-digit lead. Elisma saves it.
Maybe not.
Marbury takes it in the backcourt. And now Georgia Tech wants a 20-second timeout.
I think they want to... I don't know whether they got the timeout. Marbury was trying to call that they're going to take a 20-second timeout, but Marbury was trying to call the timeout so he wouldn't get the over and back violation, and I couldn't tell from the official signal whether Georgia Tech will keep the ball or whether Maryland will get it on the over and back.
It looked like Dick had made the signal that indeed it was going to go to Maryland. We'll see. Nation's Bank, a corporate partner of the '96 Olympics, presents this Olympic Salute to Excellence question. At what Olympic... Well, there it went.
And what Olympic Games did Muhammad Ali win the gold medal?
Very good.
You got to be quicker than that, Bob.
I know. It's age slipping. 8-0 is our score.
Georgia Tech's going to keep the ball. Marbury got the 20-second timeout before the violation.
And Elizabeth moves it back now to Marbury. 8-0. Georgia Tech leading.
It's pretty quiet in here. You can hear him bouncing the ball.
Harpering, and that would take it away. Simpkins out of the pack with it. And Drew Berry broke up that play. It was last touched by Maddox.
Maddox and Simpkins getting tangled up, going down. Simpkins comes up and Berry knocks it away, and now these guys, they're not really going for the ball. They just ran into one, and there's no advantage to either player, so no foul.
X-ray swatted away by Elisma. His 59th block of the season. Marbury. And Maryland in transition. Simpkins all the way to the bucket. And the lid remains on it for the Terps.
Bob, we've seen transition basketball, but we've also seen some pretty good transition defense. Maryland again on the set offense, trying to go inside. Hip tries to make a move to get past Elisma. We talked about how Elisma has played so well, particularly over the second part of the season. Shows you again there the defensive ability that he's got.
Shoot that shit!
Marbury to Lisma. They work it around the perimeter. Harper to Berry. Now inside Maddox. Looks for a cutter. And a hold on a Kesey against Berry.
What great presence of mind by Berry to know that if Kesey was there, Lisma had to be open on the other side. He drew the foul, but it was a great pass.
A timeout in Greensboro. 8-0 for Cremins and company. Welcome back, everybody. The 43rd ACC basketball tournament from the Greensboro Coliseum. And our first semifinal game of the day, matching Maryland against Georgia Tech. And so far, it's been all Yellow Jackets. 8-0 is our score.
Bob, the Terps look a little tight out of the blocks.
Drew Berry. Harpering. Nope, it's going to be taken away by Maryland.
Plenty of scrap in the Maryland Terrapins. They just haven't been able to get the ball to go in the basket on offense.
Rhodes. Now Maryland 0 for 7. In 9 possessions, the Terps have missed all 7 shots and turned it over twice.
Got a quick look there at Johnny Rhodes. He caught an elbow yesterday from Taman Gonzalski. And there's Booth on the inside. That's what we talked about. Booth can really operate in there. Maryland defense causing the turnover, creating a situation where Booth had some room inside. That was the Manute Bol pass. Barry's not Manute Bol, so he couldn't go up there and get it. And here comes Laurent Prophet.
The bench, one of the big stories in Maryland's win over Duke yesterday, and this kid was just terrific. 8-2, Yellow Jackets. That press pays dividends and turnovers. Now Maryland trying to get some points off of it. And Kesey is fouled.
Georgia Tech in a little zone defense, and Maryland moving the ball very effectively.
We talked about yesterday's game for Laurent Prophet. And he scored 19 to lead the Terps in yesterday's victory over the Duke Blue Devils. He did it outside and in. He hit 4 of 4 3-pointers and hit 5 of 7 overall, and he added 4 steals. Quite a day in his first ACC tournament game.
Bob, when you have a player in Prophet, as does Gary Williams, who can score from the perimeter very effectively and who can take the ball to the basket, that's a combination that is very, very hard to defend.
Kesey hits them both.
And one thing, Bob, I think we're going to see a number of different runs in this game. Georgia Tech got ahead by 8-0 early, but there's the way this game is being played, the pace, there's going to be a lot of possessions and a lot of opportunities to catch up if you're behind or to spurt and get ahead.
Marbury from 15, that was blocked.
Prophet, I think, got it.
Now Prophet moves in. Shovels to it, Kesey. Freshman adds his first field goal, and that 6-0 spurt puts Maryland right back in it.
Bob, last couple of possessions, the Maryland defense has done a nice job keeping the ball out of the hands of Berry, Marbury, and Harpering in scoring position.
Rhodes still matched up against Harpering inside.
That's good defense. That's excellent defense.
So Maddox has to take the 3, and he hits it.
That's 2 threes in the game for Michael Maddox. He's got 6 points. He's been the biggest offensive factor for Georgia Tech. And if you're Gary Williams, there's a plus and minus to that. The plus is that the big 3 aren't getting very many looks at the basket. Minus is here you've stopped the big 3. This other guy's killing you.
Rhodes retaliates with his first 3 of the game and his first 3 of the tournament. That enables Maryland to set up the press. It's still isn't.
They can't get the ball in bounds.
And he throws it away, does Marbury. Now here's what's so ironic about all this. Yesterday against Duke, everybody's hurt. They you've got Jay Heaps in the game and all the soccer players to bring the ball up, no problem. Maryland didn't really come after him. Today, with the best ball handlers in the ACC, Georgia Tech's throwing it all over the ballpark.
And they've got 7 turnovers, and you saw Simpkins convert one of those turnovers into an easy basket.
Profit missing. It was touched, so the ball belongs to Maryland.
And as Maryland has scored, it's done 2 things. Not only has it enabled the Terrapins to set their pressure, but it's prevented Georgia Tech from rebounding and getting out in transition.
And Booth hard to the bucket, and a foul on Maddox.
Keith Booth, but what power, and how do you get that open on the inside? I mean, the guys, look at Johnny Rhodes standing there right with the basketball. Booth just steps right in, powers it up to the basket. Booth at 6'5" has been playing tough inside in his entire career in the ACC, just powered it up over Maddox.
The numbers from a day ago, only 4 field goal attempts for Keith Booth in yesterday's game against Duke. He had 2 of them. 77% foul shooter this year, and that's 7th best in the ACC, but he'll have a chance to shoot another because Marbury had tad premature.
Stepped and stood right in front of him and then stepped back. So Booth knew he had a free one. We talked about the Terrapins looking a little tight coming out. They don't look tight anymore, and the Yellow Jackets look a little confused, actually.
5 points for Keith. Maryland lead stands at 3.
And when a team presses you and you keep turning the ball over, they come after you. It gives them more and more confidence. You beat that pressure 3 or 4 times in a row, and the press backs off. No backing off at the moment for the Maryland Terrapins. Simpkins thus far has done a nice job preventing Marbury's penetration. You may be able to hear the Maryland coaches saying, keep him in front.
Berry. His second 3-pointer.
But they are so dangerous. They have so many weapons.
Saunders with the person.
And Maryland's offense has switched from tentative to high attack mode.
Subs with Stokes and Lucas coming in for Simpkins and Akizi.
And that's Gary Williams' ability to substitute Stokes into the game in particular, giving Dwayne Simpkins a blow now and again, I think really helps Maryland.
Profit loses it. Berry makes him pay. That puts Georgia Tech back on top. Drew with 8. Rhodes for 3. Now Berry. Tough ball for Harper to handle. And Stokes lays it up ahead for Laurent Profit.
He just gets those long strides, Bob, and runs that ball down, lays it in comfortably. Both of these teams are capable of making you pay for mistakes. Man-to-man for Maryland. Georgia Tech's done an excellent defensive job on Harper and early. We talked about how Maryland's done an excellent defensive job on Harper. He's been a Terrapin killer, but they've handled him except for two points.
Time on the floor here in Greensboro, and we're all tied at 16. We will return after this message from Bud Light. I hope you're well stocked for a big afternoon of basketball. 16-16 Maryland and Georgia Tech with 11:34 to play. Dan, you mentioned about the turnovers and what the opposition can do with those turnovers, and Drew Berry cashed in on a Maryland mistake a moment ago. Here's the points off so far.
Maryland has had 3 turnovers. Georgia Tech's converted them into 5 points. Maryland has forced 8 Georgia Tech turnovers and scored 11 points as a result of those turnovers. These are teams that like to get out in transition. They like to run. They can hurt you in transition. So if you make a mistake and give them a transition opportunity, generally, they're going to make you pay for it.
Tied at 16.
We talked about Harpring in 4 games coming into this against Maryland. He's averaged almost 22 points a game, but he's been relatively quiet early.
Profit all the way through.
See, that's a bad shot in terms of the fact that you don't have anybody down on defense, and now you let Georgia Tech go out and run the other way.
Saunders out to Berry. Drew drives it, lays it high.
And Elizabeth's going to get called for coming over the back.
That will be Eddie's second. So Bobby Crummins will go to the bench and get Gaston.
Dwayne Simpkins didn't give up on that play. Berry had him beaten, but he didn't give up on the play, and as a result forced Berry into the tough shot. Elizabeth coming over the back.
Maryland started it down 8-zip. They battled back to 9-16. Back took the lead a moment ago. Booth up and in. Softly through the net for his 7th point of the day.
He's playing with an awful lot of confidence on the inside.
And this off Keith's leg out of bounds.
Georgia Tech continues to struggle with that pressure. They keep the ball, but Maryland getting their hands and in that case their feet on the Georgia Tech passes.
18-16. Harpring gets a breather.
And he walked because it was a spot violation. He's underneath the basket, so he figures he can move with the ball. But that was a ball that Keith Booth kicked out of bounds, so a spot throw-in, meaning you have to stand in one spot. Another turnover. Number 9 for Georgia Tech.
You multiply that out over 40 minutes, and you're talking about a 35 turnover day.
And suddenly Keith Booth, just with all the confidence in the world, he knows he can score in there, and he's attacking.
Juan Gaston with his first, and that will send Keith to the line. A 3rd-team All-ACC selection this year.
2 shots.
Undersized at that power forward spot, but he takes on all comers. There isn't a defensive assignment that he has turned down against the bigger men that he has to go up against. He has started every game of his Maryland career. Today, number 91.
There is a toughness and an enthusiasm about his game that are really fun to watch. Not a lot of flying things in transition. You have to pay close attention to Keith Booth, but once you do, you really appreciate the skills that he lends to a basketball game.
In the victory at Maryland over Georgia Tech, Keith Booth scored 15 points and had 8 rebounds. That's his 8th point of this first half.
And when you're undersized and trying to play the power forward position, you got to use your brains a little bit too, and Keith Booth knows how to do that. Mario Lucas out respecting that 3-point shot by Maddox. Saunders.
Berry's first bucket. He had 10 yesterday off the bench against the Wolfpack of NC State.
Georgia Tech doesn't bring as many guys off the bench, but their bench has been very effective for them this year as well.
Mario Lucas for 3.
Mario has always known how to find the trigger.
Berry. Now it's Saunders again in a double team.
That's a tough pass.
Maddox controls it out to Berry. Now Marbury matched up against Simpkins.
Can't guard him much better than that.
His first 2 of the day. Stokes over to Booth. Measures. Misses. One of the rare offensive rebounds of this first half.
It's only the second one, I think. And that's combined.
Profit spinning, banking, missing. Loose in the lane. It's going to be Profit to, well, he had it for an instant. Now Berry takes it away.
4 on 2.
Saunders for 3. Short with Gaston over Lucas to get it. inside. Gaston, rather, gets the pass. There's a foul on Lucas.
Crawford certainly has made some things happen. This time he just gets the ball into the lane, and what a scrap starts here. Maddox mistimes his jump, then Lucas gets his hands on the ball, and everybody in there trying to pick up the ball by dribbling it, and Barry actually gets away with it. When that ball's bouncing, particularly inside, you got to get down on the floor on top of it, or you got to grab it and pick it up. Don't try to dribble it.
Juan Gaston at the line. 53% foul shooter this year. Averages just under 4 points a game. Freshman from Decatur. Numbers against the Pack yesterday. 22-20 Maryland. Now 22-21 as Matt Harpering comes back in and Gaston goes out.
I think an important factor for Georgia Tech in this game is to get Matt Harpering involved on the offensive end. Harpering only has 2 points. Tech in one of those combination defenses, Bob. It looks like they're playing zone with their perimeter guys and man-to-man with their, or zone with their interior, man-to-man with their perimeter guys.
Terps certainly turned it around here in this first half. They lead it by a point.
Getting those turnovers and those easy baskets certainly helps your shooting percentage.
Yes, it does. Terrell Stokes over everybody to Mario Lucas. Starting hot off the bench. He's got fun.
Well, Bob, we talked about the fact that Maryland scored 44 points off their bench yesterday. They got some guys who can come in and put the ball in the basket.
Drew Berry.
Oh, what a pass!
And blocked by Lucas, and a foul on Lucas.
What a pass by Drew Berry. Are you kidding me? Berry not even looking that way. The no-look from mid-court. Lucas does a nice job to break up the play. He commits his second foul. You got Lucas, you got Barry, and you've got Marbury on your team. You better be ready to catch the ball, and Harpering certainly is. What a great pass.
At all times. Friends, stay tuned at halftime when Dick Vitale presents the DirecTV Dish Out the Winner sweepstakes.
If you're not ready to catch the ball, you're going to get it off the forehead and the nose and the ear. It only has to happen a couple of times before you start paying attention.
Yes, then all the sports anchors run it on their highlight package. Very embarrassed. 24-23. Rhodes with the dish inside of Kesey, trying to go to Elliott, and Berry scrapping for that one, knocked it out of bounds. And officials timeout in Greensboro. 7:53 remaining in the opening half, and a 1-point lead for Maryland. Back after this from CarQuest Auto Parts.
Maryland leads Georgia Tech by 1. And you know, Matt Harpering, he may look like the paper boy, a big one, but the paper boy. He's got that innocent expression on his face, but as he battles Elliott inside, you can see a lot of bouncing around. Harpering knows how to get position, knows how to maintain position, knows how to guard on the inside, and Barry doing a great job rotating over to prevent the basket.
Georgia Tech is trailing by 1 as the two teams come back out of the court here in the Greensboro Coliseum. Georgia Tech trying to make it to the championship game tomorrow and bid for their 4th ACC title. Meanwhile, the Maryland Terrapins looking for to stake their claim in the championship game tomorrow against the winner of the Wake Forest Clemson game, and that comes up next. The Tigers shocking the Tar Heels here last night in today's final game.
Georgia Tech in that triangle and 2 look on the inbounds play. Marbury is guarding Simpkins. Saunders is guarding Rhodes. Everybody else playing zone. Terrapins drop back into man-to-man.
Maddox. And the 3 bounces in for him. His 3rd 3 today.
I don't know who Gary Williams is madder at, Maddox or his own guy. You know, that just throws a monkey wrench There is a foul. I believe that's on Simpkins with an illegal screen inside. You plan and you plan as a coach. You develop a game plan, and then some guy like Maddox just throws a monkey wrench in the whole thing by scoring from three-point range.
Barry, some difficulty here in the inbounds play. Rhodes is able to knock it away.
Now, the last time this occurred, when Maryland knocked it away and Georgia Tech got a spot throw in down on the baseline, Barry walked with the ball. He's got to remember that he can't move.
He has remembered. Still, Marbury now in a triple team.
If they can get it out of there, they can get a basket.
Barry will dribble it end to end. Maddox again. Number 4.
It's the return of Dennis Scott.
20-second timeout for Maryland. Well, we talked about the lethal weapons. We didn't include Maddox, but maybe we should have. My
Maddox
goodness.
with 4 3-point baskets, and he's had some open looks at it. This again is in transition. You got to get back and you got to defend against Barry penetrating in the lane. Akizi moves from Barry out to Maddox, did not get there in time.
The three-point shot, the weapon for which Georgia Tech has been known through the years. And this particular club is on a record-setting pace.
Little run in the NCAA tournament, Bob. They will definitely get that record. And the squad, of course, that set that record was the group we talked about earlier, the Lethal Weapon 3 outfit. Brian Oliver and Kenny Anderson and Dennis Scott, an 11-3 run for Georgia Tech after opening the game with an 8-0 run.
The three-point numbers. Simpkins tries to add to the Maryland total, and this one's out of bounds to Tech. A 5-point lead for the Jackets with 6:44 to play. Keith Booth returning for Maryland. Terrell goes out.
Terrell Stokes and his coach, Gary Williams, having a little debate. And Gary wants him to penetrate the defense.
Drew Barry finds Harpering in the left corner. The 7th Georgia Tech three-pointer of this first half.
Score points in a hurry when all you're doing is knocking in 3. 7 out of 10. Maryland needs a hoop.
They were down 8 early. They are down 8 again. Stokes. Wildly. Now Barry brings it ahead.
Maryland with a very small lineup on the court. Johnny Rhodes matched up against Maddox. Now that's the kind of respect Gary Williams has to give Maddox, and the guy makes 4 3-point baskets. It's understandable.
Barry penetrating. In and out. Stays out. Stokes inside. Simpkins. Shut off by Maddox. The second foul on Mike.
You don't want to have Michael Maddox in foul trouble. He's been such a huge factor on the offensive end. That's 2 personal fouls. Bobby Cremens over there. Either he's being held up or he's trying to say that Maddox was standing there with his arms up in the air.
25.
So Eddie Alusma, who went out minutes ago with his second foul, now checks back in for Georgia Tech. And Maddox will go to the bench.
5 minutes and 35 seconds remaining in the first half. Georgia Tech can't really afford to have either Alusma or Maddox in serious foul trouble. And so now Alusma's got to be very careful.
The third point for Dwayne Simpkins, the ACC's leading free throw shooter at 84.8%. .26.
Now Maryland changes the pressure. A half-court look. A little 2-2-1.
Marbury driving.
I'm telling you, Bob, he sees an opening and he just explodes through it.
Second personal on Simpkins.
And what Georgia Tech has demonstrated is that when they can beat the first trap, and that's where their problem has been with the first trap, when they can beat the first trap, they can get some good-looking opportunities. Man to man-to-man now for the Terps.
And Marbury throws it away. Ten turnovers now for Bobby Cremins' team. And in the game at Maryland, Marbury, despite scoring 26, turned it over 7 times. Now Maryland must get something off the turnover. And Lucas travels.
Georgia Tech's defense has really bothered Maryland. The Terrapins can't quite figure out how to attack this little combination defense. It's part zone, part man-to-man. It's one of those things that I don't even know that the players understand exactly what they're doing, so they're in different places every time, and it's very hard to figure out how you're going to attack something like that.
Maryland continues the half-court trap and hip with the push.
Marbury is so quick that he just starts by in before you realize it. Your reaction is to get your hand out there and hang on to him.
This is why I believe that Georgia Tech is going to make a significant run in the NCAAs. For teams on short notice to try to prepare to defensively slow this team down is going to be a daunting challenge. Elisma up and in. Eddie's first 2.
That was a very confident move to the basket. And Elisma is a guy who's had some big games. Offensively, he's a capable scorer. They just don't need it all the time. Boost has been quiet for a while.
Working hard against Harpring, finds Lucas for 3. And Marbury's got Berry up ahead. And nails a 3.
Harpring, I think, took an elbow down on the other end, and there may have taken an elbow in the throat. Dick Paparo checking him out.
37-26, the widest Georgia Tech advantage.
Now Bobby Cremins with a big grin on his face. Harpring doesn't have a grin on his face. He's trying to catch his breath.
Inside to Booth. Elisma comes to help. Booth scores anyway.
Elisma had to be very careful.
Double figures for Keith with 10. 37-28.
I can't believe how quiet it is in here. You can hear what the Maryland guys and the Georgia Tech coaches are saying over on the bench.
Oh, wow. Drew Berry now with 10.
Simpkins looking up, but throws that one away.
And Rhodes steals it. Throws it off Harpring, and it went right back to him. The master thief had that one blow up in his face. 39-28 is our score. We'll be back after this message from Bud Light.
Georgia Tech up by 11, and the story has been the three-point offense. Georgia Tech 8 of 11 from 3. Marbury drives Simpson back with the dribble move, then steps behind the three-point line. And Matt Harpring hasn't really been a big factor offensively, but he gets himself in the corner. Berry finds him. The quick catch and release by Matt Harpring. Georgia Tech, as we mentioned, Bob, 8 of 11 from three-point range. Maryland only 2 of 7. And Georgia Tech, when they've been able to handle the pressure, they've been able to get some good shot opportunities.
A game of spurts also, Daniel, with Georgia Tech running off 8-0 to start the game. Then Maryland put together an 11-3 run. Now Georgia Tech has outscored Maryland 21-6 to forge this 11-point advantage.
And we haven't had our last group of runs yet. This is a transition kind of game that looks almost like a minor NBA kind of game. And with a 35-second shot clock and 2 teams really looking to play in transition, this isn't much of a lead. Georgia Tech's going to have to work hard to protect it.
Georgia Tech has nailed 8 threes, shades of that Carolina game. And there's number 9. Georgia Tech hit 16 three-pointers when they beat the Tar Heels in Chapel Hill. Booth. Harpring out to Berry. Yeah, that's a 3. You can take it. Saunders. Georgia Tech resets.
Bobby Crimmins is going to throw his back out, waving his arms over on the bench, trying to get him to get in their offense.
Down the lane, and Hartford lays it home.
Great movement on offense. Gary Williams has seen quite enough. Georgia Tech, what an offensive machine.
44 first half points and 2:12 remaining. Maryland takes a timeout as the Georgia Tech faithful loving every minute of this ACC tournament to date.
Matt Harpring moving without the ball, just cuts right down the lane. The screen on top, that was an excellent pass on the inside. Bobby Crimmins trying to get his team into the offense, and that's what he wanted to do. That's what that means when you stand up there and wave your arms around and try to throw your back out. That means that you want them to go through their offense. There's a guy that went through the offense pretty well for Georgia Tech, Mr. Anderson.
Kenny Anderson up from Charlotte to watch his boys in action today. And great to see a lot of the old Georgia Tech players coming out to watch the action today.
Just got a bare glimpse there in your right-hand portion of the screen of Mark Price. Here's the freshman comparison. Kenny Anderson, Stephon Marbury.
I had forgotten about Anderson's assists. Almost 9 a game. That's staggering. With all the points, well, this kid is going to be something too. He is already.
Kenny, there's Mark Price.
I sure hope his career's not over. He can come back from that ankle problem and play one more year.
Bruce Dalrymple and Mark Price and John Sally, guys that got it all started for Bobby Crimmins. What do they call them? The thin gold line. They've got all kinds of names for lethal weapon 3. And
well, the bottom line is they call them winners.
Absolutely.
44-28. Georgia Tech on top. 2:12 remaining. Maryland, the last team to beat Georgia Tech in the regular year. That was back in early February. Since then, Tech's won 8 in a row. Here are the shooting numbers. And a crucial 2-12 for the Maryland Terrapins.
Bob, they've got to get a little more defensive pressure against Georgia Tech. Make those tougher opportunities.
And Harpring with the steal. And dunk.
That's not a very tough opportunity. Bob, you're right about this being a crucial stretch. There's going to be a lot of possessions in this game. Maryland's certainly capable of coming back, but you don't want to dig too big a hole.
And Marbury with the push.
And that's Marbury's second foul. So they may want to. Here's the steal. Just not very good play. Gary Williams not very happy on that particular play. That is what you call a glare, and then he comes up, and that's usually what happens. There's a guy who used to sit over on the bench. I know the coach gets mad and he turns around and he yells at you, and you'd like to say, "Coach, put me in before you yell at me."
Yeah, that would look like Mount Vesuvius. Keith Booth with his 11th first half point. That makes it 46-29 with 1:42 left. Juan Gaston replaces Marbury. Maddox, Alisma, Marbury with 2 fouls each for Tech. Simpkins with 2, Lucas with 2 for Maryland.
And that's, you know, Bobby Crimmins has some guys in a little bit of foul trouble, and they really need to get to halftime with none of those guys having 3 fouls.
12 for Keith.
Now Georgia Tech will have to handle the pressure without Marbury in the game. Of course, Barry's a pretty good guy to have.
Outside Saunders. Oh my. Gaston nearly tipped it in. Alisma tipped it as a miss. Wave it off. Foul on Alisma, number 3.
And after the 1 minute and 12 seconds left to go in the first half, Alisma battling hard on the inside. Gaston misses the tip. Alisma really gets after it. Stokes, I think, got a hand on the ball. Alisma really battling inside. You can see him hopping up and down. That's a great effort by Alisma, and then he just comes over the back of Keith Booth as he tries to tip that one in with the left hand. He's out of the game.
Mario Lucas to shoot 1-1.
Hodge in the game for Georgia Tech.
This is the front end, but Profit, he couldn't get it to go, and Harpring secures it. Georgia Tech trying to take the lead up to 18 here as Hodge fakes, has it slapped back by Booth, and here comes Maryland. Big blowout. Rhodes over to Profit. An intentional foul is called. So Maryland, with under a minute to go, will get free throws and the ball in a desperate situation down 16.
This is a great transition by Maryland, and the foul is intentional because it's such a hard foul. He hit him and then pulled on his arm. Hodge really gets it slapped away by Booth. This is what Maryland needs to do. They make the shots difficult. They get out in transition. Profit, what a player he's going to be, but he just gets clotheslined. It's the severity of the foul that results in the intentional foul, but Maryland now not taking advantage.
Lucas missed the front end of the 1 and 1 seconds ago. Now Profit tries to go 1 of 2 at the line.
And Maryland will get the ball. It's a 15-point game. Gary Williams and Bobby Cremins both shouting encouragement.
Keith Booth inside, up and in. So Maryland is able to get 3 out of the transition.
Maryland's got it back to 13, Bob.
And they may get more here. A loose ball in the lane. Hodge loses it to Profit. Outside Rhodes for 3. Yes! 46-36. Gaston. They zip it across to Berry. And a foul on Terrell Stokes. And that will put Georgia Tech into the bonus.
We talked about these runs when teams play in transition, particularly with Marbury on the bench, with Elisma on the bench, some guys in situations where they might not normally be in the game. Hodge is one such player, fumbles the ball away, and Johnny Rhodes hits a big 3.
So Maryland was able to click off 6 points and tag it an 8-0 run, 6 points after the block by Booth. That's Drew's 11th point of the half. In 5 ACC tournament games coming in, Drew Berry averaged only 7 points a game. He had 17 yesterday against State, and now he's got 12 in the first half against Maryland.
Booth just bounced Harpring right out of bounds underneath the basket. Harpring, he's one of those guys that doesn't complain to the referees. He'll just go get even.
Yeah, that's right. Don't get mad, get even. 48-36. Now Terrell Stokes. All the way to the bucket. 2 seconds left. And Berry hangs on to it. That's the half. We expected a lot of points. We were not disappointed.
Gary Williams has been telling Stokes he wants him to penetrate, and as the last play of the half expires, Stokes just beats Berry out on the perimeter. Good quickness.
Halftime in Greensboro. The number 1 seed, Georgia Tech, leading by 10.
ACC basketball is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance, by Continental Airlines, by Pizza Hut, and by Discus Athletic. Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports' exclusive coverage of ACC basketball is brought to you by Discus Athletic, by DirecTV, by Nationwide Insurance, by Ford, by Advance Auto Parts, and by Budweiser.
Bob, as we take a look at our Ford game plan for the Maryland Terrapins, I think the key is easy baskets. They must continue to force the turnovers. They might do a better job on the offensive boards as well, but they need some easy ones. Georgia Tech, I think the main thing for them is they've got to protect the ball. 13 turnovers in the first half, and that really led to a lot of the Maryland points.
Gary Williams Terrapins yesterday defeated Duke 82-69, but the challenge a much different one today, and this Georgia Tech bunch continues to play outstanding basketball. I know we've talked about it a lot, Dan, but boy, this club is on a roll where they score with such relative ease from so many different directions.
They are very diverse offensively, Bob. They can get points from a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. You can see the balance. Berry and Maddox and Harpering. Keith Booth has been the main factor for Maryland, most of his points coming on the inside. But when you have that many offensive weapons, you just spread the defense and you create easy opportunities. They're just tough to guard all the way around. I think it's important that Maryland get off to a quick start offensively.
They go inside to Booth, and he does it off the window.
And he gets right to Elisma.
And he's starting the second half with 3 personals.
Maryland has kept the pressure on Georgia Tech with their defense. People talk about defensive pressure. Georgia Tech keeps the pressure on you with their offense. They keep scoring, and so you feel the pressure that you've got to score 2 to stay in the game. Georgia Tech or Maryland, excuse me, has chopped that lead to 8. And Rhodes is going to pick up the foul, battling against Harpering.
That will be Johnny's first.
And Harpering, even though it looked like he was struggling in the first half, he still finished with 11 points. He's just a guy who goes out there and battles you.
The biggest lead today for Georgia Tech was 18 at 46-28. It's now 48-40.
With a 12-2 spurt, Bob. Harpering wants it inside. This is a tough matchup for Johnny Rhodes.
Last touched by Booth. A fresh 35 now for Georgia Tech.
Rhodes is a good defensive player on the interior, but keep in mind that Johnny Rhodes is used to playing interior defense against other guards. And a guy who can really operate on the inside. There's Dwayne Simpkins. We've got an official timeout because Dwayne Simpkins is getting his contact lens in. This amazes me as a fellow wearer of contact lenses that Simpkins can lose his and then put it back in his eye and get it on his eyeball without a mirror or anything. It's an amazing talent. One that I don't have.
48-40. Berry and a hand check coming up on X-ray hip.
But to get back to the comment that I was making as X-ray hip picks up the second foul about Johnny Rhodes. Rhodes an outstanding defensive player, but Harpering a different kind of a matchup for Johnny Rhodes. Johnny really got belted in the mouth yesterday. A little swelling there, and you can see the Band-Aid.
Stokes is back in because Dwayne is still having difficulty with that contact lens.
Well, he lost that before the game as they were warming up. Got it to go back in. Very nearly a turnover there.
Three-pointer. Rhodes the rebound.
Maryland can chop into that lead some more.
Yes, they can. Inside Rhodes. This time the matchup goes the other way, and Rhodes scores.
And it's a different kind of matchup for Harpering on the inside, too. Rhodes with some quickness in there.
Harpering gets it to Maddox. Tech 2-on-1. Maddox to Elisma for the slam.
Bob, you know, I looked at that fast break develop, and I thought, well, on the plus side for Maryland, even though it's 2-on-1, it's the two big guys. But, boy, they executed like it was Marbury and Berry on that break.
50-42. Tipped away by Elisma, but Akese, nope, it's Harpering. And a travel as he runs into Berry.
Here's your 4-man and your 5-man, your power forward and your center, and they run this like a couple of guards. That's an excellent pass by Maddox. in transition. Usually those big guys get out in transition. As a coach, you hope they don't trip over their shoelaces. But that was nice looking.
Rhodes for three.
Johnny Rhodes doing it on the inside, now going outside. Not able to get it. Gary Williams. Not too many more guys, not too many more intense guys on the bench during the game.
Loose ball picked up by Booth. Rhodes got in the middle of that play, coming toward Harpering.
And it's something you'd expect from Johnny Rhodes.
Booth couldn't drop that three in there.
When you see the value of Maddox, he's been a factor in the second half after sitting down for a while in the first half with a foul problem.
Maddox goes to Marbury. Usually it's the other way around.
Now, Maddox has 3 assists in the game now. Marbury with 10 points. Quite a game by Mr. Maddox. He had 5 rebounds in the first half.
Rhodes, little longer three, and he puts it home.
Johnny Rhodes' ability to shoot to the three-point basket is something that I think is going to be very important. Now, Dick Papar, the officials counting, and Drew Barry taking his time. Just barely got it inbounds.
Barry, and Marbury's able to pick it up. So throws it up there and off, and it's out of bounds to Maryland.
That was a case where Drew Barry in the transition passed the ball, but if he'd taken it to the basket, he would probably have scored or gotten fouled.
52-45. Kesey just barrels in, and Elisma blocks it.
Bob, you have to wonder how much better Georgia Tech can play offensively in the second half than they did in the first, or if they can maintain it, because if they can't maintain it, Maryland appears that they're ready to get right back in this game. In fact, they are back in the game at 7 points, only 7 points down. You go in down 10 at halftime, and the other team's shooting almost 60%, lighten it up from 3, you got to feel pretty good.
Elisma!
Got to block out, though.
Shades of that Carter dunk from last night.
And that's going to cause Gary Williams to go to his bench.
Outside Booth for three. And Larry Rose spots a foul. It's a push on Kesey. That will be Obena's second. And a timeout on the floor here in Greensboro with 15:45 remaining. 54-45 Jackets. ACC basketball brought to you in part by Texaco, Haviland Motor Oil.
We talked about Georgia Tech's ability to pass the ball. This is the power forward Maddox with the nice pass to the point guard. You usually think the point guard be making the pass, but excellent cut to the basket and a good pass. And now watch Elisma just fly in there. Nobody gets a body on him. He dunks it in. The rebounding in this game, Georgia Tech 26, Maryland 14. The Terrapins getting murdered on the boards, and that's not the way to get back in the game.
There's the numbers that you mentioned, Dan. Maddox with 6, Marbury with 5. Eddie Elisma, who got to put a charge into this big house in Greensboro, 23,500 plus with a terrific jam follow.
Elisma is a guy who doesn't need to score a great number of points to be effective for Georgia Tech. He needs to establish himself as a threat inside, and he has done that.
Long pass to Harpering, and Matt throws it behind Elisma.
Well, Elisma's trying to tell him is that's the 16th Georgia Tech turnover to throw it up in the air. You know? Bobby Cremins knows that this game is a long way from being over. Marbury checking with the bench, checking on the defense, and Booth stepped out of bounds. It's been a tough half for Keith Booth. He had 14 in the first half, and in this half, he's concentrated on the perimeter shot and hasn't gotten any to go. He's only got 2 points in the second half.
Marbury knocked away by Booth. He and Rhodes forming the double team.
It's amazing how much trouble Georgia Tech has had getting away from the first double team. Once they get away from the first double team, they're generally okay.
This time it goes to Elisman. And back to Stefan. 15-20 remaining in the game. Harpering with the turnaround. He's got 13 after a 21-point day against NC State yesterday. Profit's runner. That won't go.
Oh, nice job by Marbury to tip it away.
And Tech is able to save it. And that is going to be a travel as you can hear Dick Paparo say switch pivot feet.
Bobby Kremen's getting ready for the dance tonight.
17 turnovers now for the Jackets. Oh my! A scoop to the hoop for Keith Booth.
And that's a foul on Eddie Elisman. That's 4 fouls. That's the second time Maryland has run this inbounds play. And each time Booth has gotten the ball right next to the basket and Elisman gets the foul with the body. Booth shaking his head. Yes, that's exactly what you need to do.
So with 14:53, Elisman out of the game. Gary Saunders is in.
Keep in mind that Maddox has 2 fouls, so the foul problem's starting to pile up for Georgia Tech. They only go 7, 8 deep at the most. And as Maryland continues to attack, they're far from out of this game.
Number 19 for Keith Booth.
They are staying within striking distance. And that's important. We saw that in the last game of the first round last night where Clemson hung around within striking distance, and in the last 6 minutes of the game, I guess you can say they struck.
And Booth with the push. First foul on Keith. What struck me about the Clemson comeback last night was the airtight defense they threw at the Tar Heels the last 5 minutes.
The Clemson Tigers were just outstanding last night. They played a fine game the entire evening, but that last 6 minutes was really something to behold.
Maryland trailing by 8. Rhodes outside Lucas. Now to Keith Booth.
Boy, Maryland could use a 3 on this possession. Lucas, of course, the 3-point artist in the game.
Profit inside to Lucas.
He walked.
.17 to play.
And Maryland still, they're hanging around, Bob, despite that turnover. They had the opportunity to cut it to 6 right there. Really looking for Harper now. And he brought, that's Booth got it again.
So Keith Booth picks up his second.
Harpering does such a great job moving without the basketball. He's a handful to guard on the interior. Here he slides in, a great screen. He catches the ball, moves to the basket. Booth late coming over, so's Mario Lucas. 2 shots. As much attention as he has received on the inside today, he had to be surprised he was that wide open, but a good cut and a good screen.
Matt has averaged over 20 points a game in his Tech career against the Maryland Terrapins. He had 23 in the game at the Omni with 9 rebounds and 7 assists and 17 points. At College Park, 15 today.
Maryland's bench with 10 points in this game, and yesterday against Duke they scored 44 points, so Gary Williams really like to get some more production off that bench.
And this man,
that's a tough pass. Profit was tangled up in there with Saunders, never got his hands on the ball effectively. Gary Williams with his hands on his head, he knows that his team has now turned it over 13 times, and they can ill afford that.
10-point Georgia Tech lead.
Marbury working very hard without the ball. That's a pretty good matchup, Marbury and Simpkins.
Harpering for 3.
That's just great ball movement. They pass the ball so well, and they got so many guys who can hurt you.
The first second half 3 for the Jackets. Rhodes misses. Lucas had it knocked away and taken away.
And they make good decisions, too. Saunders was winding up. He was going to throw that ball down court to Maddox, and he thought, well, I'll just give it to this number 3 standing next to me here. Maybe he'll know what to do.
61-48. Barry.
That's a tough pass.
Maryland will get it. Unselfish play, one of the signatures of this Georgia Tech team.
Barry looking inside. Now gets the ball to Saunders, down to Harpering. They've moved the defense around, and Harpering is one of those guys, when he catches the ball, he's ready to let it go. It doesn't take him long to load it up at all.
Stokes to Profit. He picks up the loose ball and slams it. Heath now with 21. But Maryland is still down 11.
Marbury telling his teammates, just calm down. You got a guy like this who can play so effectively at the point guard. It's tough for another team to come back from way down because he's just going to control the game.
This one, Lucas more body than blocked, and Mario with his third.
But it's Marbury probing the weaknesses in the defense and finding it with an explosive dribble penetration. Rhodes has to come over, and as a result, nobody's left to guard Saunders. Lucas trying to come over, and he commits the foul and heads the other direction. Lands on his backside. Maryland with 16 fouls in this half. The Yellow Jackets with only 1.
Saunders with his third point. Coming out of Brother Rice in New York. Gary Saunders actually got it was Bobby Cremins who got a tip from his old buddy Jack Kern at Archbishop Malloy. Said, hey, this guy Saunders over there at Brother Rice. You might want to take a look at him. There he is in Atlanta. 62-50. Outside Lucas for 3. And Tech is running with Marbury.
He makes such good decisions in transition. Doesn't force anything.
The shovel to Maddox. A lot of red shirts in the neighborhood.
And he throws it to Bobby Cremins.
Final from the SEC tournament in New Orleans. Kentucky rolls again, winning by a mere 20 today. 62-50 is our score here in Greensboro. We'll be back after this message from Bud Light. Our Nations Bank Olympic Salute to Excellence question: at what Olympic Games did Muhammad Ali win the gold medal? And the correct answer: in Rome in 1960. This is the first of our doubleheader Saturday semifinal basketball from the ACC tournament. Coming up immediately following this game, the play heard around the ACC last night. Greg Butler slams the winner as Clemson beat North Carolina. Now the Tigers get Tim Duncan in Wake Forest. The ACC tournament continues with the second semifinal game right after this one on this Raycom Jefferson Pilot Sports Affiliate. Yes, a night for the Tigers here in Greensboro last night. But a big challenge awaits in Tim Duncan at the Deeks. Tim Brandan will have a call for you coming up. Paul Cameron rejoins us between games. 62-50 is our score here in Greensboro with 11:40 to play. Tech now breaking away from head coach Bobby Cremins, the winningest coach in Georgia Tech history, and took a ball club that was picked to finish 6th and won the ACC's regular season back game.
And the Terrapins knocked that ball out of bounds, so Georgia Tech wasn't trying to throw it to Bobby. They get it back. 20 on the shot clock.
Doubled and now out to Marbury. Shot clock at 6. Barry backdoor, it disconnects. Stokes and Marbury battling, and Stefan with the foul.
That's Marbury's third.
I got Blake 3 on the push.
11:18 left, and now
Foul number 3 to Stefan Marbury, his third, second team foul.
Ron Profit is going to move over to play it in for the Terps.
Bob, there's still a lot of time left in this game, and Marbury, with 3 personal fouls, is a fellow that Georgia Tech simply cannot afford to lose. I don't think even for a few minutes. Lisma already on the bench with 4.
Rob had it, blocked by Saunders. Oh, what a block by Gary. Rhodes faking. He'll dish it low. Lucas. Rhodes gets it back. Scored and a foul. Well, Georgia Tech did a lot of good things defensively, and Rhodes was still able to put it in the basket.
Well, this says something about the persistence of Johnny Rhodes. The pass inside to Profit. The block by Saunders, but Barry cannot come up with the ball. And then Johnny Rhodes just stays after it. The pump fake, he's going to try to pass it off, and the ball bounces away from Mario Lucas, and then he bounces off Maddox, drills it in the basket.
Barry the foul, his first, and Rhodes tries to polish off the three-point play and does.
And the Terrapins, they're back within 9. They're not going away.
It's Marbury to work it ahead.
And the tone of this game could take a drastic change if Marbury, say, commits an offensive foul and has to sit down with 4.
Ron Profit clears to Stokes. Here's Johnny Rhodes maneuvering and backing it in. 16 for Johnny. 62-55.
7-point game, Bob.
Drew Barry down the wing against Profit. Back out to Marbury. Harpering had a little breathing room, but now Booth comes out to cover. Mance picked up his dribble. It goes over to Marbury. 15 seconds to shoot. Marbury past Stokes.
Oh, my!
Count the bucket! Stephon makes some magic.
Gary Williams just is very disgusted. This is a classic play right here. Marbury up in the air. Profit hit him on the arm. Marbury just continues. Watch him hang in the air. Beats Stokes down lane. There's the foul as Profit reaches in, but Marbury continues the motion. Gets it to go. What a play.
Profit the rebound. 64-55. Rhodes, long shot, in and out.
Booth and Rhodes are the only 2 Terrapins to score in the second half. Rhodes with 10, Booth with 7.
Maddox for 3.
That's the first miss one he's missed today.
Georgia Tech keeps the ball, and Saunders along with that 3. Booth clears it out. Rhodes controls it and is tied up.
Saunders is going to get a charge of the foul, Bob.
His second. 9:31 to play, and Johnny Rhodes will be going to the foul line.
Bob, and as you watch this basketball game, you get the feeling as they run up and down that maybe Georgia Tech's in complete control, but they are not. Maryland is within striking distance. The Terrapins, if Rhodes can get both of these, it's a 7-point game again.
Johnny has added 5 steals today to 16 points, missing that foul shot. Career steals leader in the ACC.
The problem for Maryland when you're trying to come back against a team like Georgia Tech is that the Yellow Jackets have so many guys who can make plays.
And you cannot squander scoring opportunities. Rhodes missing 2 free throws.
Ron Profit, after the big game yesterday, only 1 of 8 with 3 points in today's game after 19 yesterday.
Poke away.
Man-to-man defense.
10 to shoot. Should I say 3 to shoot? Marbury nails it.
How can you defend that?
You cannot. And that's why Tech has his 12-point lead. 22nd timeout.
Now watch how far behind the 3-point line he is. And you know, you got to figure with the clock running down that he's more dangerous driving to the basket, and you've got to play him for the drive to the basket. You just that is you cannot defend that.
67-55. Georgia Tech now with 8:56 left. Time now for our smart play of the tournament, and it comes from yesterday's nightcap. North Carolina Clemson. The Tigers making the smart pass as time winds down. Terrell McIntyre to Harold Jamison to Greg Buckner underneath and sticks it for the win. Clemson's first ever tournament win over North Carolina, and the first win in the state of North Carolina over the Tar Heels since 1967. Booth spinning and hitting. 23 for Keith. Maryland sets up the press, down 10.
Still plenty of time left in the game for Maryland. They've got to get some defensive stops and some conversions on the offensive end. It's a tough matchup for Stokes. Marbury, of course, played against one other in AAU competition, and that's a 5-second violation. Marbury just waited too long.
And Stokes gets right up next to him and starts applauding.
It's 20 turnovers.
You mentioned that matchup of the freshmen. Stokes from Philadelphia, Stefan from New York, actually played together time or two in AAU play. Stokes. And inside, nothing doing for Elliott.
That's a great defensive play by Maddox to get that block without fouling. I would think it would be a different story playing with Marbury than against him.
I'd much rather be on his team. Pick me.
Get a different flavor, and there Booth gets the foul. He knows it. That's 3 fouls on Keith Booth. Harpring gives you that Jim Brown look out there. Slow getting off, can barely move, and then he just explodes on the next play.
7:46 the time remaining. As Mr. Harpring goes to the line.
He has that grievously wounded look all the time. Then he kills it.
First team, all ACC this year. And bidding for a 20-point day for the 14th time this season. Booth is out, Lucas is in.
You got a quick look at Eddie Elisma on the bench with 4 personal fouls. His teammates have done a pretty good job with Eddie Electric sitting down.
20 for Matt. 69-57. Georgia Tech leading with 7:46 to play. ACC basketball is brought to you in part by Toyota. Well, the NCAA men's basketball committee huddling in Kansas City as we speak, trying to figure out which way the 64 teams will line up come tomorrow. And certainly some questions in our league, Dan, about those clubs. Clemson with the question marks there.
Bob, I think that Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and Duke, because of their 18 wins and tough schedule coming into this tournament, I thought all those teams were definitely in the NCAA tournament. Maryland, who came in with 16 wins, I thought they should have gone, but to guarantee it, I thought they needed 17, and they got that. So in my opinion, the Terrapins are in. The question mark is the Clemson Tigers. 18 wins, 8 wins counting their ACC tournament win against North Carolina in ACC competition, but a relatively weak non-conference schedule may cause some skepticism on the part of the committee. It's a team that I think should be in, but I don't know whether they have a definite invitation yet.
Lucas hitting the 3 to make it 69-60. Harpring, can he save it? Yes, but into the hands of Elliott. He shovels the profit. He scores and a foul.
And that's what you call your classic 6-point play if he converts this opportunity. You got to wonder what Drew Barry was thinking about. They threw him the ball and he ducked. Catches the ball here, throws to Barry, he ducks. I think maybe he thought somebody was behind him. And Harpring really made a mistake. You don't save the ball in that position right under your opponent's basket unless you know for certain that you're throwing it back to one of your own guys. And just like that, it's a 6-point game.
69-63. Maryland sets up the press, and Rhodes just got a fingernail on it. Wow.
It went from 12 to 6 in some kind of hurry.
Right quick. 7:10 to play. Harpring and Elliott on his back. Well, just to close that story about Clemson, Dan, I want to ask you this. If Clemson were to upset Wake Forest today and move into the championship game tomorrow, would that, in your opinion, solidify a bid?
I think so. I think the selection committee has some very serious thinking to do right now. I think, you know, maybe some people were dismissing Clemson because they didn't really play a difficult non-conference schedule. But when you win 8 games in the ACC, and when you get some wins like they've gotten, I mean, come on, Clemson has beaten Georgia Tech. Now they've beaten North Carolina. They've beaten Wake Forest. You go down the line, the Clemson Tigers have some quality wins.
Harpering rolls in his 22nd.
But as Rick Barnes said last night in an interview after the game, that they can't worry about that. They just got to take care of their own business. They got to keep winning, and, you know, if they win 2 more games, there isn't any question.
Don't have to worry about it.
Rhodes draws the foul from Saunders.
Well, in all the excitement, I believe, of the Clemson victory last night, as Georgia Tech wants to take a timeout, and they, I think, want a full timeout. Let's see. Yes, they're going to the bench. It will be a full timeout. We'll talk more about the tournament when we come back. 6:59 to play here in Greensboro, and an 8-point lead for the Jackets. Despite all the talk about March Madness and the NCAA tournament, this trophy is still cherished in this neck of the woods. The players so desperately want to claim the title of ACC champion. And that trophy will be going out to the winner tomorrow afternoon here in Greensboro. Maryland's been in a comeback mode all afternoon, cashing in on a lot of Georgia Tech turnovers today. Look at the points off the turnovers, 29-20. That's a ton.
And that's why Maryland is only 8 points behind. Georgia Tech has played very effectively on the offensive end. The closest this game was in the second half was 6 points. Maryland has the opportunity to get it to 6, or with a 3-pointer, they can get it to 5.
Rhodes gets it into Booth. Johnny.
Long 3, and it is a 5-point game.
That is the 4th 3-pointer for Johnny Rhodes. Barry lobs it into Maddox. .71-66. Profit measures Marbury. And vice versa. Harpering gets a little closer. Shovels to Maddox. He was hit on the arm by Profit.
Maddox never saw Profit. Profit knew that he had the element of surprise in his favor, just wasn't able to get the block cleanly. And Johnny Rhodes coming off the screen. Watch Keith Booth set the screen, and Barry just doesn't get over it, and Johnny Rhodes drills it. That was a long 3-point basket. But Maryland is back within 5.
Maddox, a 64% foul shooter this year. That's his first second-half point after all those threes in the first half.
Maddox hasn't really looked for his offense in the second half. He's caught the ball. There's one time he caught the ball right next to the basket and looked to pass it back out.
And this one drops out. Rebound to Profit. 72-66.
Man-to-man for Georgia Tech.
Get it back. Out into Booth. Back out to Johnny. Can he hit another one? Not this time. Tip by Lucas. Can't save it. And Georgia Tech has it.
And that's really a break for Georgia Tech because Lucas.
Oh, Lisma came off the bench and fell down.
He tripped over Bobby Cremens. Bobby, gee.
Take it easy on your own guys there, Coach. I think that was a blocking foul on Bobby.
Tripping foul. It's not the way you want to come in the game, by the way.
And a steal by Lucas. No, he fouled it. On the Maryland bench. Really perturbed. Lucas thought he had it clean.
It's 4 fouls against Lucas.
It's a big 3-point weapon, too, in foul difficulty.
And Lisma didn't really step aggressively to the ball, Bob, but he stepped just enough to the ball that there was some contact. And if you're out there in that position, you better step toward the pass because you'll get the foul just about every time when you do.
Lisman with point number 7.
Georgia Tech starting to make a living at the free throw line.
When Georgia Tech beat Maryland at the Omni, Dan, they hit 27 of 28 free throws to establish a new school record.
They're 14 of 18 today.
So Electric Eddie had the power shut off with foul difficulty, but able to get one of two. Saunders keeps it alive, still loose, and now Maryland's Keith Booth comes out of the pack with it. 73-66. Simpkins driving. Back out to Booth. Keith gets around Harpring, takes it to the bucket, but Lisman, too big a defender there, and now Berry has it. Out to Marbury, back to Harpring for 3.
Saunders going to be called for over the back.
And that's his 4th.
And that's going to put Maryland at the free throw line. Georgia Tech has had the advantage because they've been shooting and Maryland hasn't. Lisman gets up there and bothers that shot just enough to cause the miss, but now Maryland is in the bonus.
And Johnny Rose will step up to the line to shoot 1 and 1. Only 57% for Johnny at the line this year.
That's a hard stat to believe.
It really is. He's 1 for 3 today. 20 for Rhodes. Season high 30 against Kentucky. He's moved past Walt Williams today into 6th on the all-time Maryland scoring list. In and out. And Berry brings it up. Foul on Prophet. His 73-67.
2 shots.
Gary Williams puts Lucas back in. And Rodney Elliott will go out.
Lucas returns for the Terps.
Rodney Elliott had a big game yesterday against Duke off the bench. He's been very, very quiet today.
Elliott had 10 points and 8 rebounds. As Drew Berry pumps home his first second-half point.
Elliott hasn't scored today. Bobby Cremins is just as satisfied that that is the case.
And now Georgia Tech takes the lead back to 8.
You just get the idea that Maryland's not finished yet, Bob, that they have at least one more run in them, although throwing it to the photographers won't help you.
5 minutes remaining. Drew Berry up the sideline to Lisman.
This is a place where Marbury is so tough, makes such good decisions with the ball. Georgia Tech can afford to be patient, not passive, but they can afford to show a little patience right here. Shot clock running down, they're going to have to do something now.
Berry with the fake, the fire, the miss. Lucas and the steal. Wow! He had that baby measured all the way. So instead of Maryland ball and a chance to cut it under 8, the lead goes back to double digits for Georgia Tech. Time out on the floor, 4:22 to play. We'll return after these messages from the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Georgia Tech with the big lead, and Drew Berry misses the shot, and Stephon Marbury hanging around in the background. Lucas never sees him. Marbury just steps in. Bob, you said it correctly. Had it measured all the way. And speaking of measuring things, it's not very difficult for the Georgia Tech folks to measure the value of Stephon Marbury. He's the guy that makes big plays.
The announcers for this game selected and compensated by Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the use of this broadcast without their express permission is prohibited.
Stephon Marbury very happy, and you can certainly understand why. But we mentioned before that one of the difficulties about if you're Maryland trying to mount a comeback against Georgia Tech is Georgia Tech just has so many guys who can make plays. Stephon Marbury may be the ringleader in that category. Gary Williams, he knows it was 4 minutes and 22 seconds and only a 10-point game. His team is still in it. The key for Gary Williams' squad is the Terrapins have to start to make some plays on both ends of the court. From Johnny Rhodes, those are the guys who've been making the plays the entire second half.
14 second half points for Rhodes, 11 second half points for Booth.
Maryland with the three-quarter court pressure. Now they drop back. They're going to try to match up. Ten seconds on the shot clock. Barry inside to Harpering. Up and off. Profit jumps in to claim it. And Marbury almost had another one.
He did almost. Here's Lucas for three. No good, but there to follow is key.
Suddenly it's a 6-point game once again, Bob.
Maryland's gotten almost to the top of the hill, but not quite there yet.
Terrapins have been chasing Georgia Tech the entire afternoon.
The inside story. Marbury over the Harpering screen.
They cut it to 4. Good defense. Excellent defense.
Simpkins runs right past Marbury, scoops it in. Oh, what a shot. Timeout, Georgia Tech. The Jackets have their 20 in the second half. And it looks like Bobby's going to take the full timeout.
You know, nobody there defensively on the boards for Maryland. How do you get that open under the basket if you're Keith Luton? Now, Marbury has 3 fouls. He just steps away from Simpkins. Bob, that was an extremely difficult shot by Dwayne Simpkins.
A 4-point difference here in Greensboro. Georgia Tech leading 77-73. This building known for ACC tournament excitement. And it was 22 years ago today here in Greensboro. 6 All-Americas took the floor for the ACC title game. Maryland against NC State. And it was 7'4" Tommy Burleson, who literally was the big man. 38 for the Wolfpack. The Terps, Tom McMillan had 22 as the game went down to the final seconds. Score tied at 97. John Lucas with a shot at the buzzer. And into overtime they went. Monty Tao found Phil Spence for this hoop in a 101-100 lead. Maryland working for the winning shot, but Lucas with the pass. And it goes out of bounds. The Wolfpack adding 2 free throws. They beat the Terps 103-100. On to the NCAAs and on to a national championship right back in Greensboro just a couple of weeks later. On this date, March the 9th, 1974, in the game that's regarded as the greatest in the history of the ACC tournament. And one of the stars of that one, David Thompson, watching all the action here in Greensboro this weekend.
Bob, that, of course, was, in my opinion, not only the greatest game in the history of the ACC, but certainly that ranks up there as one of the greatest college basketball games ever played. When you think about what was at stake in that game, that was an NCAA tournament game because the teams, only the winner got in, almost a play-in kind of thing.
The 2 teams that night combined to shoot 58% from the floor. 11 future NBA picks played in that game. It was quite a night. I was privileged to be here in this building that evening. Some more tournament magic in the offing here in Greensboro this weekend. Our next semifinal game matches the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest, the number 2 seed, against the upstart Clemson Tigers. But the little matter of deciding a winner in this one, and 2:39 left. 77-73.
Bob, and the Maryland Terrapins come out on the floor. They've got one timeout left. Georgia Tech has one full timeout plus a 20. And two freshmen, Terrell Stokes and Laron Profit, both in the basketball game.
Well, Drew Berry has been his mission all day, trying to get the ball unbounded against the Maryland pressure. Marbury in a double team. Berry gets it back and is fouled by Profit. His fourth.
And you can understand the players reacting to calls at this point in the game, and they have to be very careful. You don't want to say something or do something that gets you slapped with a technical foul.
Double bonus for Georgia Tech. Drew Berry moving up to the free throw line.
Gary Williams with a little offense-defense substitution. Mario Lucas, Johnny Rhodes in the game. Profit, as you can see, 4 fouls.
15th point for Drew Berry. The 4th best ACC free throw shooter at 80%. 78-73, 79-73.
It's only a 2-possession game, Bob. Booth working hard inside. Marbury knocks it away. Wow, that's what we're talking about. Guys who make plays. Harpering, excuse me, not Marbury, making a great defensive play.
Stephon getting it ahead now to Berry. 2:15 left.
Man-to-man for Maryland.
Marbury left. So that gives it back to Maryland with 2:02 left. 22 turnovers today for the Jackets.
Marbury very anxious to get going there. Had a little bit of an opening against Dwayne Simpkins. Simpkins doing a pretty good defensive job. Marbury got anxious when he saw that opening, wanted to exploit it, but walked with the ball.
Simpkins saving a few precious seconds. Ticks on that clock. Under 2 now. 79-73. Johnny Rhodes out to Profit. Now to Keith Booth.
Feel a stirring in the building, Bob.
Rhodes for 3. And Harpering embraces it. Gets fouled.
And that's Lucas, and he'll be done.
5 on Mario. Comes with 1:38 left.
Mario Lucas, his 5th.
Gary Williams forced to make the change as Lucas, hands on hips, walks off the court.
They've notified Gary Williams now that Lucas is fouled out of the game, so he has 30 seconds to get somebody else in the game, and doesn't want to use a timeout. We'll use the entire 30 seconds just to make Harpering stand there and wait.
Larry Rose going over to check the stopwatch, make sure they've got that rolling. And here comes Mr. Elliott. And Gary and Larry have a good chuckle over it. Foul difficulties. Lisman got number 4 with 14:53 to play. He's still out there, obviously, and Harpering up to the free throw line. That's his 23rd point.
Bob, and it may be a factor in the last minute and 38 seconds here. Maryland is still only in the 1-and-1. Georgia Tech with only 9 team fouls.
24 for Matt, 81-73. And they come up with it again. And the pressure by Marbury, forcing the bad pass.
Now Harpering has made a couple of big plays, a steal, free throws, a rebound. Marbury coming up with one.
81-73. Berry throws it. Was it tipped?
Yes, it was.
It was tipped by Simpkins.
Simpkins got his hand on the ball. Simpkins down the stretch here has done a fine defensive job against Stephon Marbury. Harpering's been the guy who's killing him.
And that's becoming a pattern in 2 years against the Turks.
1 minute.
Got him. Was it out of bounds? No.
Marbury was out of bounds. The ball stayed in.
There's Booth up and in, and a foul on Saunders with 52.1 remaining.
Saunders is done. Bobby Cremins telling Saunders, let him go, let him go. Saunders, however, for Saunders, that advice is a little late. Now what this does, as Booth just powers in there and Saunders goes for the block, and Bobby Cremins is right. There's no reason, as this ball bounces around in the corner and Simpkins picks it up, there's no reason for Saunders to go after Keith Booth in this situation. Once Booth gets to the basket, you just let him go. The worst thing that can happen is that he scores 2 points.
Keith has matched, as Saunders goes out, Keith Booth has matched his career best with 29. He also had 29 against Virginia a couple of weeks ago, and now Keith is stepping up, bidding for his first 30-point day as a collegiate. Maryland can't get it, and by missing the free throw, unable to set up the press, and now the ball's out of bounds to Georgia Tech. Now they'll have the opportunity now as Barry looks. My goodness. All day long it's been a problem.
And Georgia Tech is going to want to take their 22nd timeout right here. Bob, it really is amazing how difficult Maryland has made it for Georgia Tech to pass the ball in bounds. And Barry, an excellent passer.
This guy's only got 3,610 assists. He can't get it in. 81-75 with 54.4 to play.
Bob, this is a Georgia Tech team, and if you're Bobby Cremins, all the turnovers have to concern you. They got off to the big lead. They were up by 18 just before the end of the first half, and they were never able to put Maryland away. Gary Williams, his team definitely in the NCAA tournament with those 17 wins against that very tough schedule. Obviously, he's got to be very pleased that his team had to quit out here.
A little better this time. Harpering in a double team, and Maryland comes up with it. They got the steal. Stokes to Keith Booth. Wheels in on Barry. Now fakes. Gets a lisp out of the game and will go to the line. With 34.6. Boy, suffocating pressure on Harpering.
Harpering just not able to hang on to the ball, and Maryland pushes it up, and where do they go? Well, they go to the guy who's done it all day for him, Keith Booth. And Elisma, who's done such a good job staying away from that fifth foul. He's got to go after Keith Booth here. He goes for the fake, and once he goes for the fake, Booth, extremely intelligent move inside to get his body into Elisma. Elisma fouls out with 7.
Maryland is 13 of 20 at the line today. Big free throws for Keith.
Georgia Tech has had 2 guys foul out, Saunders and Elisma, and Gaston now in the game. Or rather, this is a combination I'm sure hasn't been in at the end of a tight game the entire season. And Maryland's still got a shot here.
So Keith Booth pulls Maryland within 4, 81-77.
Juan Gaston, only a 53% free throw shooter, wouldn't normally be in the game at this point, and they foul it.
2 shots, but it will be Gaston at the line nonetheless. Second on Stokes.
Good defense by Maryland to force them to throw it into Gaston and then to get the quick foul before Gaston can get rid of it.
And Maryland only a second off the clock then. They did it quickly. 33.5 left.
Saunders would normally be in the game at this point, Bob. He's a 71% free throw shooter, and Gaston, as we mentioned, only 53%.
His second point. The freshman from Decatur, Georgia.
Even if he makes the second one, it's still only a 2-possession game.
Elliott secures the rebound. Up ahead to Laurent Profit. And out of bounds to Georgia Tech.
Williams doing some lobbying over there, claiming that Gaston touched the ball last. He's not going to win that argument.
Berry slides it in, gets it back.
They just need to handle the ball. They do not need to score, obviously.
Berry to the line.
Berry actually a little frustrated with himself that he got fouled. He was trying to get rid of the ball before they could commit the foul.
18.9 left. Berry has been a perfect 6 of 6 at the stripe in this game.
And now the second free throw, which would make it a 7-point game, would make it almost impossible for Maryland. It's not very likely at the moment, but I think it moves from the realm of the improbable to the impossible if he can get this one to go.
Nothing but net. 18 for Drew Berry.
Don't want to foul any three-point shooters.
Johnny Rhodes, short, gets it back. Nope, out of bounds to Maryland. 8.4 remaining. Harpering knocks it away.
Gary Williams telling his players, when they score, call a timeout.
Profit missing the three. Booth with the tip in. Timeout Maryland. 33 for Booth.
He's been all over the backboards today. We talked about the necessity for Maryland to get a big game on the inside for Keith Booth, and I don't know how he could have produced a bigger game on the inside. Georgia Tech just racing off to the big lead. They built that 18-point lead, and then they made enough plays to hold off a determined charge by the Terrapins.
Let's look at our MVPs for the ball game today as Georgia Tech is on the threshold and moving into the championship. Our MVPs today, Keith Booth with 33 for Maryland and 6 boards, and Matt Harpering representing Georgia Tech. Food Line will make a $1,000 donation on their behalf to the ACC's Operation Outreach Fund, which benefits deserving middle schools throughout the ACC region.
Mario Lucas fouled out of this game, but there will be others. Trip to the NCAA tournament in the offing for the Terps. Of course, now they still have to get an invitation from the committee, but given the strength of their schedule, Kenny Anderson rooting his old team home here. But given the strength of the Maryland schedule and the fact that they've got 17 wins, the Terrapins don't really have any bad losses. They played one of the toughest schedules in the country. They finished 8-8 in the ACC. They won a game in the ACC tournament. They've done everything you need to do. And that'll do it.
Drew Berry runs out the clock, and Georgia Tech's in the finals. Bobby Grumman's club will play for the ACC championship tomorrow against the winner of the Wake Forest-Clemson match. Georgia Tech was able to keep Maryland at arm's length all afternoon long, the mark of the champion. 84-79 the final here in Greensboro in the semifinal.
ACC basketball was brought to you by Bell South, by All Sport, by Food Line, by Advance Auto Parts, by Ford, and by Nations Bank.
Top seeds hold serve. Georgia Tech with a 5-point win, 84-79 in the semifinals. Georgia Tech going back to the championship round. Hi, buddy, Paul Cameron. Stephon Marbury, this freshman, 17 points in a big game today. My friend, tell me about this performance. ACC tournament, your first time through. This has got to be fun for an offense that's running as well as yours.
Oh, yes. I mean, we're having a lot of fun right now. We're playing with a lot of composure and we're playing very poor. Today, Maryland came out really tough. I mean, we got out to an early point lead. You know, then they cut into it. Then they cut. You know, they started to win and they held the lead for a while. But we came out with a little bit more fire after a timeout. You know, we started playing with more poise.
I thought you were around the ball all day, especially down the stretch, making the key tips, the key come up with a great defensive job as well. And most of all, you had some fun. And I see this on your wristband here. You got "have fun" written right down here, and you had some fun today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I put this here because, you know, when I start getting down, when I get frustrated with myself, you know, I look at it or I touch it and I start to smile. I mean, that's all it's about, is having fun, and that's what I'm doing.
You've had fun this entire year. I mean, we saw the first half of the year kind of a little bit of a struggle, but once you got your legs under it and you understood what your role was on this team really has taken off.
I mean, you know, basically, like you see right now, we're getting the ball. I'm getting the ball where I wanted at, and you know, I'm getting great shots. We're really just playing with a lot of poise. I mean, that's what it really is right now. You know, I can't say too much about the coaching staff. They're doing a great job on the defensive end. I mean, Coach Cantwell, he's really stressing defense to us. We're just doing a great job this year.
And you're in the championship tomorrow, the final. Stephon Marbury, great job. Dan Bonner as the coach.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Paul. We've got Coach Bobby Cremins with us. And Bobby, your team ran out to an 18-point lead and then spent the rest of the game fending off the Maryland Terrapins. What do you think?
Well, it's a shame that we can't maintain it because we play so well. And then we lose it, and we make it tough on ourselves, like NC State previous to this game. But somehow we find a way to win. It's an amazing group of young men. I really thought we were in trouble there, and then Stephon came up with that huge steal. But we continue to play hard and find a way to win. We beat a good Maryland team today. I would just like to relax the last 5 minutes of the game one time.
Well, Bobby, I don't think that's in the cards, at least not yet. Matt Harpering has another solid game. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He just never stops.
His defense is rebounding. We couldn't stop Booth, and then Booth was fouling us out of the game. And we put Harpering on Booth, and he made a couple of great steals there late in the game. Tremendous. He fronted him. Butch's a good player, and Johnny Rhodes was getting open. So I'm elated. I don't know what to say.
Well, Bobby, good luck to you tomorrow. Congratulations on a big win today. Let's go over to Paul Cameron.
All right, thanks, fellas. And last time Georgia Tech played in the finals, 93, when they beat Carolina for the championship, 77-75. Back in Greensboro after this. ACC basketball brought to you in part by Circuit City. Maryland gets 33 points from Keith Booth, but the comeback plans are tabled as Georgia Tech a winner 84-79. So the Jackets, top seeds, advance on after their win over Maryland. They await the winner between Wake Forest and Clemson. That one is coming up in just a few minutes from right now in Greensboro. Tim Duncan, Mr. Double-Double, and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons bidding for a second straight ACC championship after this from Bud Light. We'll be back.
Holy cow, what a shot at the buzzer! Wake Forest, he's got size. Tough shot, spins out on him. Fight, Calabria throws it up from the ground. Oh, the buzzer! And it counts! This could send it to another overtime, or a three could win it. Here's Greer, blocked by Duncan. And it's over. Collins for three in the win. Oh, the iron is timed to Chris Collins, and it's a one-point lead for Duke. Marshall, the distance. Oh, the iron unkind. Up to McGinnis. Little one-on-one move, dish inside. Schwicker missed the shot. Good. Calabria gets free and tips it in. Wojciechowski is going to penetrate and kick it. They got the open shot going on. Oh, Carolina wins.
6 seconds left. Rutland looks at the clock. His shot. The follow by LaRue. No good. Georgia Tech wins it.
Runs some inbounds. Wojo. Tough matchup here. Price to win. He got it. He's good.
Under 10. They're going to try to get the little fellow to cough it up.
To win it.
Puts a slam on a great tournament so far and a sensational season. When we come back, we'll check in with Bob and Dan on today's game. Come back to Greensboro with us in just a minute.